Hey, what's happening, guys? Okay, so I got a bunch of Spider-Man books here for you guys, and as you know, 2018 was a huge year for Spider-Man.
I don't want to go, sir, please.
I'm so hyped that I wanted to compile a list of 2018 Spider-Man issues that are very standalone, you don't have to read anything else, easy to understand, where you can just pick it up and just read it. Because I'm so hyped up on Spider-Man right now, I'm going to explode. So let's go ahead and get on with this list. Okay, so the first issue is Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 1. Or 43. Fucking reboots. So this issue is all about the symbiote and the history with it and Peter itself. So this issue works as like a complete timeline from when Peter picked up the symbiote during Secret Wars all the way to the moment where he lost it when he was with the Fantastic Four. And it's really cool because it fills in the entire gaps all in one issue, and it's really, really cool. The best part about it, though, is the fact that this timeline story is actually being recounted by the symbiote and not Peter. So we get to see the symbiote's point of view and why it liked Peter for the longest time and why it felt like it was betrayed by Peter. So it's kind of a cool story that really fills in that gap of time. It shows you what the symbiote was thinking. So I feel like this issue kind of fits nicely in that whole web of Venom stuff, because now it kind of says, oh, well, the symbiote wasn't always trying to be a bad guy. It actually just liked Peter, but like a crazy ex-girlfriend, it got pissed. So I recommend this issue to check it out because you can read this and you don't need anything else, because it's really cool. Okay, so have you guys heard about a guy named Dan Slott? I'm sure you have an opinion of him. He's kind of done some cool things, he's also done some bad things. But either way, this year, he actually hopped off the book. He is no longer on Amazing Spider-Man, which is crazy because he's been on it for 10 years. So, as his love letter to Spider-Man fans, he wrote Amazing Spider-Man issue 801. This is the very end, the last issue he ever wrote. Now I know that the number 801 looks really intimidating. You don't have to read anything else. Just read this issue. This issue is what Dan Slott thinks Spider-Man is, and it's really great. It takes him back to his roots. All the convoluted stuff that Dan Slott is known for is gone, and all it is who Spider-Man is to the community. Now, what's really cool is the art done by Marcos Martin. He draws Spider-Man in such a Steve Ditko kind of way, especially at the beginning of the issue. So it feels very reminiscent. It feels like we're going back in time. It feels like we're going to a simpler time, and shows how important Spider-Man is and can be to an individual person. So this whole story follows around a nameless person in New York who one day was impacted by Spider-Man, and how that one day that Spider-Man saved the day literally impacted the rest of his life and made his life 10 times better, and completely validates Spider-Man's reason for doing what he does, and validates the reason why anybody should do good things, because all it takes is one act of kindness to change somebody's entire life. And that's exactly what this issue demonstrates, and it's really great that Dan Slott was able to finish his entire run, his controversial run, on this issue. But it's not the best love letter that came out this year, and you'll see why later. Okay, so this next one, this one's getting a lot of buzz. Amazing Spider-Man number 1. Or in the timeline, it's Amazing Spider-Man 802. So it takes place after that last issue. Fucking reboots. So this one has a completely new creative team. And as I said, Dan Slott's been on it for 10 years. In 10 years, MJ and Peter have not been together. Spider-Man's been doing a lot of crazy things. People have inhabited his body. He's had a huge corporation. All that crazy stuff that kept me away from the book. All of a sudden, we're going back to basics. It's literally what this issue should be called, back to basics. Nick Spencer is the new writer, and he is going all out on Spider-Man. It's really great. He's also teamed up with Ryan Otley, who, if you know the Invincible comic book that recently ended, he's on this, so congratulations, he's back. He can pretend it's invisible now. So the cool thing about this issue is he's taking Spider-Man back to basics. Spoiler alerts. He is bringing back MJ. He is recoddling that relationship. He's bringing them back together, and it's been 10 years. I cannot. And then the biggest one, and I think this is the most interesting one, is Nick Spencer has brought back the responsibility of Peter Parker. As of recently, it felt like Peter Parker was just running through different aspects of his life and going through a lot of crazy things and acting like there's no repercussions. And for anybody who knows Spider-Man, that doesn't feel like Spider-Man. Sure, it's fun popcorn for at the time, you know, like, oh, he's going on a crazy adventure, yada yada yada. But Spider-Man is a character who is built on this idea that he has to take responsibility for his actions. So when he doesn't do that, that's not cool. And that's exactly what this issue addresses. It's the first thing that Spencer has to deal with and fix. And it's really great. So in other words, we are building up Peter Parker. We are starting from zero, and we're going to shoot for the moon. So if you're looking for a place to jump on for Spider-Man, or also a single issue that is very self-contained and a good story, this is a great place to start. Okay, so this next issue is really controversial because I'm notorious for having an opinion about Chip Zdarsky's Spectacular Spider-Man, and I'm sticking to that. This issue is awesome. So this is Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man, issue 6. Try saying that 6 times. Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man. Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man. Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man. This is a really cool issue. Why? Because Chip Zdarsky finally realized, you know what? Spider-Man isn't a bunch of quips. He's not the ultimate TV show. He's not Deadpool. He doesn't just make jokes the entire time, wears his costume all the time, and just acts like a jackass. No, that's not Peter Parker. Peter Parker is actually a person. And what's really great about this issue is he highlights both Peter and J. Jonah Jameson, and why Jameson has a problem with Spider-Man. That's right. This entire issue is literally just Peter and J. Jonah Jameson sitting down and having a conversation of why he does not like Spider-Man. The great thing is Chip Zdarsky peels back some of the layers of why J. Jonah Jameson doesn't trust Spider-Man and why he has been such an advocate against him. It's because of fear. It's because J. Jonah Jameson feels responsible to his readers, to the people of New York, to keep them safe. And he genuinely saw Spider-Man as a threat for several good reasons. So this is really great because now, all of a sudden, this angry man who's just a voice, suddenly we realize, okay, you know what, he is coming from a very reasonable spot, and sometimes we actually even sympathize for him in this issue. It's really great because it shows two characters who believe in certain different things, and they actually get to sit down and argue about it. This helps create characters, you know, this is a great moment, you know. Chip Zdarsky knew what he was doing right here, and he finally brought out the big guns when he made this issue, and it's hilarious because it's literally the next issue after that horrible arc that I hated. The guy who does the art, Mr. Walsh, it's really great. He draws it in a way that it's very similar to the 60s cartoon. He wants you to think back to that, but it's also a little bit updated, so it's not, you know, hysterical. If you were ever wondering why J. Jonah Jameson hated Spider-Man in any of the movies, comics, or in the video game, this is a great book to check out because it gives you the exact answer. And also, it is the start of another arc, but what's so great is it's so self-contained that you don't have to read anything else afterwards. You could just read this issue and then get back to whatever it is you're doing. So I recommend it. It's really heartfelt. You should check it out. And for our last issue, I don't have the physical copy. I have given it out to so many of my friends, and a lot of them have teared up. Every single one of them, misty-eyed, including myself. And this issue is Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man, issue 310. I know, such a huge gap. Must have been a massive run. No, just reboots. Fucking reboots. But anyway, this issue is also written by Chip Zdarsky, and it's drawn by Chip Zdarsky. And let me just say this. I forgive Chip Zdarsky for those first 5 issues of Spectacular Spider-Man. After reading this is potentially my favorite comic book that came out this year. My favorite single issue. This is literally one of the greatest Spider-Man single issues that should not be overlooked, and you guys have to check this out. If you had to pick up one issue, it's this one right here. So, let me set the stage here. Chip Zdarsky, he drew the issue. And when you see the art, he doesn't lean on any sort of nostalgia whatsoever. He goes for the most definitive version of Spider-Man. He draws him like we imagine him. He draws Peter like we imagine him. He draws New York and all the villains the exact way that we imagine them. I think he's one of my top favorite artists for Spider-Man, and it is a shame he only drew this issue. Now, let's get on to the writing, because that's the most important part. So, like Dan Slott's apology letter... apology letter, really? Anyway, so just like Dan Slott, this issue doesn't actually focus on Spider-Man, but rather the people of New York and their opinion of Spider-Man. But instead of focusing on one person, it focuses on an entire neighborhood. It asks several people. It's an interview saying, what do you guys think about Spider-Man? And what's so great is we get some positives and we get some negatives. We get some people who say, yeah, it was really great when he saved me, but he's also really annoying. He keeps showing up and making these terrible jokes. And then there's a lot of sad moments. There's moments where we realize that a lot of horrendous things have happened and Spider-Man had been there and wish he could have done something more. And it's really sad and it's really touching. My favorite aspect of this book is the fact that Spider-Man isn't Iron Man. He isn't any of the big shot superheroes. He doesn't just save the Earth from the Skrulls or from Thanos or from whatever. He helps people by doing little things. If it's dodging or getting you out of the way of a bullet, if it's stopping some guy from mugging you, if it's the fact that you just want to you need help with your homework, Spider-Man is there for you. Spider-Man is one of us. He's one of the people in the interview. He could be any of them. And that's the greatest thing. He's just a nice guy trying to do the best he can. Because with great power comes great responsibility. And this issue articulates all of the best aspects of who Peter Parker, Spider-Man is. If you had to read one issue, I would read this one right here. Because I don't think there's a better issue than this one. There really, really isn't. Chip Zdarsky, for whatever reason, figured out Spider-Man at the very end, and it is a shame that he's leaving. But anyway, guys, yeah, so those are my top 5 Spider-Man issues that I recommend to you if you feel like reading anything this year. They're all super cheap. They're all like $3.99, $4.99, so yeah, you should check them out at your local comic book store because they could really use the business. Anyway, guys, let me know what you guys think of any of these issues. Let me know in the comment section below. I would really love to hear your guys' opinion. I'd love to hear why you agree or disagree with me. Whatever, that's cool. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you really enjoyed this video, please subscribe for more content that will eventually come out. But yeah, anyway, I will see you guys later.